This month, I barely wrote a thing. But the next, I hit nearly every writing goal I had. Same job, same responsibilities, same writing project. So what changed? I stopped forcing a writing routine that didn't fit for my life. And in this video, I'm going to help you figure out why your writing routine keeps breaking, how to fix it, and how to create one that is sustainable, fulfilling, and doesn't cause burnout for your writing. And speaking of burnout, I'll show you what happened to me when I went too far on the other side of the spectrum and pushed myself too hard. Okay, let's get into it. My name is Colby. I am a writer of fantasy and science fiction who aspires to publish a book one day. I write with a full-time job and a full life, but I still manage to write consistently. In fact, because of the nature of my job, I move about every 6 months, so I'm constantly having to break down and rebuild a writing routine that fits for my life as it changes. So I've gotten pretty good at this, and I'm going to give you the tips. At the baseline, here is why most writing routines fail. It's because, and myself included in the beginning, we think that writing is about willpower. Like, if I just tried harder, then I could stay consistent. If I just locked in, then I could get it done. I know I could. But I promise you, that will hit a wall at some point, and things will fall apart. Another reason is we see someone else's success, we see their routine, and we think they did it, so I bet if I did that same thing, I could do it. So we try to make their routine mold into our life. But productivity isn't a one-size-fits-all. It's very personal. And routines should be reflective of your point in your life right now. We're going to talk about the 4 different philosophies of productivity and focus that I learned from a book called Deep Work by Cal Newport. Those 4 models are monastic, bimodal, rhythmic, and journalistic. Typically, we are going to fall into one of those 4 things that works best for us and our circumstances at this point in life. You want to find that and you want to leverage that to your advantage and create a routine based on it. So really quickly, let's go through the 4. Monastic. That means you are isolating yourself away from every distraction and you are focusing on that specific book or whatever you're writing in that book alone for that period of time. How this might look is, let's say you're a teacher. You work during the school year, and then during the summer, you go out to a cabin in the woods and you write for 3 months straight, doing nothing else. That does work for some people, but you have to have a very special life circumstance to make that happen. So monastic nowadays isn't that common. Bimodal means splitting time between regular tasks and deep focus throughout the week. Not as much as monastic, not as little as rhythmic, somewhere in between. What I mean is, let's say you work 5 days a week. Monday through Friday, you don't write at all. You completely focus on your work, your family, your hobbies, being there and being present for people in your life. Then Saturday and Sunday, you go into a specific room in your house. You put a little sign on the door that says, "Do not disturb," and you do nothing besides work on that project for the entire days of Saturday and Sunday. You consistently do that, so you're very present during the times that you're not working, and then you are having large chunks still of dedicated time of writing. This one is a little bit more realistic, but I still find that it has to be a special kind of circumstance to make that work. Meaning you have to have a family that's very on board with this because they're not going to see you for, 2 days straight. And they have to understand that they can't interrupt you. I'd say this one is more common in people who are single. The next one is rhythmic. This is one that a lot of times applies well to me. This one is scheduling blocks into your time on an almost daily basis. It's the exact same time, exact same place, exact same method. For me, I start work at either 8, 8:30, or 9 a.m. here in my current job. What I do is I get up at 6, Monday through Friday, every single day. In that time frame before work, I write, and that's all I do. For me, that works really well. I can get up before my wife, so that way I don't feel like I'm pulling time away from her, and I can still achieve my goals long term. This is probably the most common one that works the best for people's lives. It doesn't have to be the morning, and it doesn't have to be every single day, but as long as you're consistently putting in these scheduled time blocks, that's a rhythmic mode of focus. And the last one, journalistic. This is writing when you find time. There have been definite times in my life where this has applied the most. For example, when I move, I usually shift into a journalistic mode for 3 to 4 weeks while I'm getting established in the new city, state, and place of work. A lot of times how this will look is during my lunch break, I will just squeeze in 200 words. Or if I get a cancellation at work and now all of a sudden I have 40 minutes to do paperwork, if I'm already caught up on my paperwork for work, then I'll write 200 words. It's just fitting in times throughout your days and throughout your week that you can write. This one's hard, especially if you're a novelist, because it tends to break out the boost you get when you're writing in a singular time frame, like writing a chapter, but it is doable if your life circumstances call for it. What do things look like right now? Which of those 4 do you think you could realistically apply to your life and make it consistent long term? Once you do that, once you find it, I'm going to give you some other tips to help it as you develop it. Number 1, prep the night before or the day before, or at some point before the time frame actually comes into play. For me, since I write in the mornings, that looks like deciding what I'm going to work on the night before. Let's say I'm going to work on chapter 7 tomorrow. Then I will set out my clothes for the day. I will get my lunch prepped. So that way all I have to do is wake up, shower, get dressed, and then it's writing time. I don't have to think about which chapter do I work on, or which does use a little bit of willpower, even if seems like a mundane activity. I don't have to put my lunch together. I get as much time as I can to writing alone. If you're doing bimodal or monastic, that's a little bit easier to prep ahead because you have more time to think about what you're going to work on. So during that week, every once in a while, or during the time before, think about the chapters or outline or whatever it is that you're going to prep. If you're journalistic, you can still plan for this. If you find 30 minutes, if you spend 20 minutes of that just figuring out what you're going to write, it's not going to be successful. Maybe like a little chunk on Sunday. Take some time, think about what this week your focus is going to be. So when you get those little time spurts, you can go right into it. Next one, speaking of planning, is writing achievable goals. People talk about goal setting all the time, but it is so important. So for me, I try to write about 2,000 words per week on average is my realistic goal. If I can sustain that, then I'm feeling like I'm making really good progress. So I'll make that weekly goal, and then I know in the mornings, I just write and I track my words to get closer to that. That's an achievable, long-term, sustainable goal. I'm not setting something ridiculous like 10,000 words in a week. Some people can sustain that. I cannot. Make some goals that apply to you, that are important to you, but are achievable. Achievable enough to sustain a busy week. The third tip, and this is one that I personally feel helps a lot, is alternate between drafting and revising. So if you're just now starting out as a writer, this can be harder. But if you have a book that you're revising and then a book that you're writing brand new, go between them, particularly if you're journalistic. I find that when I get small chunks in the day, it is easier to get more productive work done while I'm revising versus writing something new. And I tend to leave the new writing to my blocked out chunks because that allows me more time to focus directly on it. Let's say you're brand new and you're writing your first book. Maybe you write a few chapters, and then if you get like 15 minutes and you don't feel like that's enough time to write valuable words to a new chapter, look at your first chapter or one of the other chapters and just revise a little bit of it. That is a trap though. Don't get sucked into the first chapter forever fallacy where you just revise and revise and revise. Make sure you're switching between both. Okay, these are small practical things, but they add up over time. We need to talk about burnout because it's a very real thing, especially in the writing world. First, let's talk about what not to do. In 2023, I participated in NaNoWriMo, which, if you're unfamiliar, is a goal of writing about 50,000 words in 1 month. It's hard. You have to write like 1,600 words a day. I set up a rhythmic style of my life that I thought I could do. And did I do it? Check this out. So that's November and December of that year. That's an insane amount of words. I pretty much wrote an entire novel in those 2 months. But like, that's all I did. I went to work, I came home, I write, I went to sleep. Went to work, came home, write, went to sleep. That is with a wife, by the way. I was not a very good husband during those 2 months. And also, check out what happened in the next 2 months. Yeah, I didn't write a single word. I was so burnt out that I needed a break from writing in general. So just because you can doesn't always mean that you should. That's a huge cornerstone of what this entire channel is. Just because you can write 5 hours a day while still working a full-time job doesn't mean you should. There's other people in your life that are important to you, that love you, and that want to spend time with you. And you should be spending time with them. That's part of the human experience that I think is extremely valuable and worth doing. So when you set up these methods, whichever one of these 4 work best for you, whichever ones you want to set up, make sure you're doing it in a sustainable way. So that way you can average, like for me, I average about 20,000 words a month. I get nowhere near that 74,000 words. Sometimes I have higher months, sometimes I have lower months, but I average about 20. And I found that for me, I can do that and still have a very meaningful, fulfilling, happy life and have great relationships with people I care about. A routine that's going to stick is one that leaves you feeling fulfilled. If you push yourself too far, it's going to break. All right. If you found value in this video, consider subscribing. I'll be posting other videos like this, where I talk about productivity, sustainability, and fulfilling lifestyle as someone who is aspiring to publish a book and has a busy life. If you guys are curious about another hack I use to stay consistent with my writing goals, check out this video, where I talk about how I track my words, and I'll show you how to do it yourself. But as always, keep writing.